Click the links to email me any articles you want me to look at or send them on Discord. The accusation is the summary judgment. Due process is for civilized people. We just want witch trials. But they do make some interesting points about you're with us or you're against us, that sort of mentality. They have an interesting argumentative style where they argue the conclusion, or they assume the conclusion. They say certain video games are recruiting tools for the alt-right, but even from the context, they're implying that that is a bad thing. Perhaps they should define it first. It does have a definition, but it's meaningless because it just means anyone to the right of Mao. Everything they do is hyperbolic ad absurdum. If you're not a Bolshevik, then you're a fascist. The reality is that while that is a ridiculous statement, it's much better to be a fascist or nationalist because nationalism actually works. Communism starves people to death. But whatever, it's actually possible to be a moderate because most people are moderates. And the Twitter left, I realize it's not the left in general, but the left doesn't know what the left is anymore. The Twitter left is weird. If you say, like, I'm on the left for most issues, but I'm against trans kids stripping on stage for degenerates, well, then you're literally Hitler. Or I'm on the left, but I'm against open borders because bringing in low-skilled workers depresses the wages of poor Americans. Well, that's problematic for these commie kids. They don't understand basic economics, but they want open borders anyway, because we can just print more money or like whatever, problem solved. Basically, the left is full of kids without experience, and they can vote, which is terrifying. The voting age should be raised to 25, and it should be taken away from women. This video game company is working with a YouTuber who didn't pass the left wing's purity test. But what has he actually done? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he did. It just matters what they accuse you of. Because he's accused of being right of center, which is a gateway for alt-light, then alt-right, then like practically a Hugo Boss goose stepper. And, alt-light is an interesting phrase that they created to basically say someone who's not something, but going in that direction. Well, then, aren't you guys literally communists? Like, you literally advocate for socialism, communism, Karl Marx, all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, but it's just like an economic system or like something. But, it's an economic system that's resulted in millions and millions of people starved. Brutal, repressive regimes. That they're not exactly friendly. Like, I know the left is all these LGBT stuff. Commies are not really pro-LGBT, because if you're in a system where the communist dialectic predicts that taking farmers from farms and making them school teachers and vice versa, which, just works, just creates starvation, you need babies. So there are no LGBT in these socialist nations because they need kids. So these people, it's like the old ones are just retarded. They're Dunning-Kruger. They're overestimating their abilities. The young ones, I guess, just don't know history. Anyway, they never actually say why they believe that being right of center or even far right, why is that a bad thing? The right wing is not a threat. Antifa, BLM, Soros, Rothschilds, globalism, communism, those are all left-wing things. It's not MAGA guys who are burning down businesses. It's Antifa and BLM. And I saw an article where BLM says they're trying to split from, some people in BLM are trying to split from Antifa because there are people in BLM who have a legitimate grievance and they seek redress. And they're not idiots. They know that burning down buildings is not going to help them. And so BLM will start a protest. And admittedly, some of the BLM will be breaking into buildings. But then Antifa will come along and burn those buildings down. Or this is not helping us. So we'd like to split off. Which, whatever. And it's important for businesses to stop bowing to pressure from people who are not your customers. SJWs are parasites who will destroy an industry. Then they move on to a new one. They did it to comics, movies. They're trying to do it to video games and anime. What is the latest Mariko Tamaki comic? It has an obese lesbian on the cover because it's written by an obese lesbian. And believe it or not, that market is pretty limited. Even obese lesbians want skinny girls. SJWs demand ugly, obese, trans, lesbian characters that they be in everything. But then nobody wants it because people really want blondes with nice jugs. Who doesn't? SJWs are a very vocal minority. They're a tiny percent of your customer base. Catering to them is just a way to lose money. It's a difference between what people say they publicly want to virtue signal versus what they will actually pay for. They say they want obese, disabled, trans lesbians, but then they don't buy Mags Visagio's comic books or watch its show. Vagrant Queen went, I think, a half dozen episodes before it got yeeted. We want vegetables and rice, but we buy fast food. Hey, I want a rocket launcher for my coyote problem. No, dude, you actually want something a lot smaller, like just a rifle or something. Comicsgate works because it sells a product that people want, which sounds overly simplistic. But SJWs are demanding a product be made that they won't buy, but they want someone else to buy it, theoretically. But they won't because, they want the skinny blondes with big jugs. Or they were never interested. That's the thing, is they were never interested in it in the first place. Like, there are SJWs who say they say they're fans of comics. There was one who EVS interviewed a long time ago. It was a trans individual who went on the show, and so EVS was going, well, what comics do you buy? And they said, well, they can't afford to buy comics. But, they can afford cigarettes and booze and weed and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you like comics, you're not going to be smoking, or you're going to be buying comics before you buy weed. Have your priorities straight. Comics are more important than weed. So if you're not buying comics, and here's the thing, you can go online and find comics. I'm saying sail the high seas. If you're really a fan of Iron Man, you can find it online for free, which is fine. And then when you can afford to buy, overpriced comics, you buy them again. If you're a fan, you'll find a way. So this trans person who was outraged about Comicsgate and about comics in general didn't actually read comics. It's like, well, you can read them for free. So you can find them, I guess, in libraries, if libraries still exist. But, you can also just go sailing. So why do you care about Comicsgate, and why do you care about representation in comics? Oh, I think it's very, very important. But you don't actually care about comics. Oh, I'm a comics fan. You can steal comics. If you're a comics fan, you'll pirate them for a few years, and then you'll get them legitimately. And I'm not against those people, because I don't know. If you can buy them, you'll buy them. So a lot of these people are deeply, deeply passionate about things they don't know anything about, and they're passionate about the broader topic, and like comics and movies and games, anime, they're just vehicles through which to propagate their horrible, horrible ideas. So this guy is working with a company that has some adult features, which means it's difficult to get people to review those kind of stuff that's 18 plus or whatever video games. So they're happy for the collaboration that they're able to get. And they say these kids are, I assume they're dear God, I hope they're kids, because they're just developmentally disabled. They don't appreciate this guy's political views, his personal political views, but nobody ever says what they are. It's just, he's right of center. Well, so what? Half the country is right of center. Oh, well, he shouldn't be reviewing video games. Are you going to review video games on your channel? Oh, I don't have time for a channel. Then shut the These people make me crazy. In response, they produced the response. It launched another separate wave of outrage towards the studio as fans of Arch. Those who agreed with his views took issue not only with the studio's claim that the YouTuber had made Islamophobic and other controversial statements in the past. Well, why don't you just present those quotes and let us judge for ourselves? I understand it's difficult to present things out of context, but there's a meme, that meme of the Austrian corporal going down a slide, and it says, everyone I don't like is literally Hitler. That's what it's like with these people. It's like they have Trump derangement syndrome. Trump made these people just insane in 2016. They just lost their effing minds. So you're not going to show us what he actually said, which probably most of us would say, oh, that's fine. Oh, God, no. How could you say that? Yeah, it's fine. It's just, that's just how people talk. So they say they're grateful that they had an opportunity to talk to the guy, and he reviewed their games, made a YouTube video for an hour. It's like, that's it. There's no reason to be outraged about this. But Zach said something interesting a few days ago. He said, like, they've moved on from CG. SCWs have moved on from comicsgate, and they moved on to Star Wars. Yeah, they moved on a while ago from CG, but they don't care about comics. They don't care about Star Wars. When Gina Carano thing, when that kind of falls away, they'll just find something else to move on to. Someone won't. God, I remember they were mad at Taylor Swift because she wasn't out and out a leftist. Like, she is, almost anyone in the entertainment industry is left of center. But she wasn't. She's tried to keep that in the closet. And they just pestered her until she finally came out and endorsed some left-wing governors and some governor races. And it's funny because the guy actually lost. Anyway, these people are idiots. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. I'll see you all next episode.